Stewart. I'm Candace Stewart.
Hey.
That's Clint.
I'm Clint Welander.
I'm Candace Stewart, and this is my podcast, Trade Secrets. And today I have super talented guy, friend of long standing, good buddy of mine, Clint Welander. Hey, Clint, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
I
Happy
don't
to
know.
be here.
I don't know if you've ever heard one of these, and if you haven't, it's all good. It's all good. Basically, the concept was, I don't really have like a lot of pictures of people that I work with over the years because it wasn't cool to do that.
Yeah.
And now I'm kind of cruising into the semi-retirement phase in the future.
Yeah.
And I started this about 3 years ago because I wanted to talk to all my friends and have something for posterity. And I also wanted to shine a light on there's no one way to get your perfect job. You know, like how we all ended up doing what we're doing, working in this
Yeah.
crazy industry that we love so much. So I really only ask one question, and then I'll kind of just keep pulling you back in and stuff. So I ask one question, and that's, where were you born?
Oh, I was born in Iowa in a small town.
What's the name of your
the
town?
Town's called Emmitsburg.
Oh, okay.
Emmitsburg, Iowa.
All right.
So I was born at the Palo Alto County Hospital in Emmitsburg.
Oh, that's interesting. What does your dad do?
My dad's retired, but he was a farmer.
Oh, okay, that's
and,
crazy. What did he grow?
He grew corn and soy when I was growing up. When he was a kid, he grew up on that farm, and so they used to have livestock,
Yeah.
but he didn't like the livestock. So he just decided he was going to do plants only.
Good man.
So yeah, when I was growing up, we were always going out to the farm. Everybody in the family was out in the fields.
Working.
Yeah, cutting down weeds.
You got to have a lot of land to have cornfields because corn is not an expensive crop, and you have to produce a lot of it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And what about your mom?
Mom is retired also, but she was a high school Spanish teacher.
How crazy is that? Why Spanish? That's
Yeah.
crazy.
I think she learned French first in college,
Me
and then
too.
she just found out that there was more jobs for Spanish
Oh,
teaching.
that's funny. I
So
love that.
she learned Spanish as well, and so she just got into that.
I love that.
Yeah, because they didn't offer French in any of the schools near me. Like Spanish was the only foreign language.
See, it's
that
funny. They didn't offer
they would
Spanish where
offer.
I went to school.
Oh,
Yeah, Charleston, it was French.
yeah. Oh, there
I
you
think,
go.
and you could study German too. I was actually a linguistics major when I started college.
Hmm.
And then after I took Chinese, I quickly changed my major because I realized I did not have the aptitude for foreign languages that I thought I had.
Ah.
Chinese was really hard. And so anyway, but this is about you. So do you have
It's also
siblings?
about you.
Do you have
I
siblings?
have a sister.
Okay.
Her name is Hope.
Oh, that's
And
cool. What does she do? What's Hope do?
She is a school administrator.
Cool.
Yeah. She lives in a suburb of Orlando.
Oh, she lives in Florida. Cool.
Yeah, which is where my parents live now. They live outside of Orlando in a town called Claremont.
Oh, I actually think I know where that is.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I'm from South Carolina, and I remember when you told me that your dad was kind of adjusting to retirement, but now he loves it, I'm sure.
I think he does.
Goes fishing.
Yeah, he's got a boat. He
Yeah.
likes to cruise the boat around. He
Yeah.
doesn't fish that much, but it's nice the town that they're in Florida's got
Alligators.
lakes. Well, they got alligators.
Yeah.
But they have lakes that have little canals between them.
Yep.
So you can just like cruise lakes all day.
I grew up on an island in near Charleston. It's all up and down the East Coast. People, if you don't know this, there's millions and millions of islands, all the way from Maryland on down, but Virginia down, Outer Banks, all that, and then there's the not intra-coastal waterway, which runs up inside the land, which is all the rivers and all the river systems, which is how they did the shipping from Pennsylvania all the way to Florida. So all big barges when I was growing up, every day but Sunday, 7 a.m. You have a freaking really loud barge. And the river that I grew up in was called the Stono River, and the Army Corps of Engineers had to dig a trench basically between this river and the open ocean so that these big barges could actually get through the waterways. Because like Orlando, like where you're talking about where your parents are, it's all these rivers that are connecting. Where I'm from, it's marsh, but all connecting, and you have to make it sure it's deep enough for boats to go through.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's crazy.
Yeah.
God bless the Army Corps of Engineers and all the bridges that they built.
And you got gators there too, right?
Yeah, we have a lot of gators. So
Yeah.
I'm going to digress from the podcast for a second and tell Clint this thing because it's so fucking crazy. So, I'm moving back to South Carolina, so I started
Yeah.
like digging in, right? And morbid curiosity You know, like, how many alligators are there in South Carolina? And it's like, there's 100,000. I'm like, oh my God, that's a lot of fucking alligators.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how many alligators are there? You're like, what state has most? Louisiana.
Yeah, Louisiana.
2.6 million
Yeah.
alligators.
Yeah.
That's like half as many people as there. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
that's insane. That's like a alligator for every 2 people.
I know. Yeah, I went down there.
That's crazy.
2 weekends ago,
Dude,
and
New
I did a
Orleans,
swamp
best.
tour.
Oh,
while
you
I
did
was
the swamp tour?
Yeah, while I was in New Orleans.
Dude, they're everywhere.
I saw some gators. I learned some fun facts.
Yeah, they're pretty docile, to be honest.
Gators according to our
passive.
guide, they don't attack people
They do
unless
not.
you're near their nest or
They do
you
not.
piss them off.
They do not.
But the crocs,
Yeah, they're
that's what you got to
aggressive.
work out for
Yeah.
or watch out for. But the crocs are not in Louisiana; they're only in Florida.
That's true. And like Central America, South America.
Yeah.
And fun
And
fact is that
Australia.
crocs can live in salt water and alligators cannot. So alligators can swim in sort of like what we call brackish water, like a river that might have a little bit of salt in it, but they drown and die in salt water. So when we have hurricanes in the southeast, a lot of times alligators get washed out to sea and they'll die. But yeah, they're actually quite passive. And if you don't bother them, they don't bother you.
Yeah, the ones I saw were really cute, actually.
Since 1946, there have been less than 40 deaths where alligators have attacked humans. Now, that statistic would be altered depending upon what you're looking at, but generally speaking, you know, don't get down into the marsh with them and hit them on the head to take a
Yeah.
selfie,
Yeah.
because then you deserve to get et.
I mean, even though I've heard all these
Come the
facts,
fuck
I'm
on.
still
Yeah,
not.
you don't do
I'm not
that.
jumping in the water.
Dude, they don't have any natural predator, because other than us, there's nothing that kills them. So they are a dinosaur.
Yeah.
And an apex predator, and it's like, okay, well, probably shouldn't fuck with them.
Right?
Just be respectful. But that part of the country's gorgeous. Beautiful, dude. You liked the swamp tour, it was fun, right?
I loved the swamp tour.
fucking
It was
cool.
really fun. I loved everything about my trip to New Orleans.
And later, not on this show, but later, Clint and I will dig into the difference between marshes and swamps.
Oh.
Because they're actually different. Some are landlocked and contained, others have open flow to the ocean, which is the marsh. Anyway, so there you go. Fun facts for the listeners that
All
have
right.
nothing to do with music. So Clint, your sister Hope, your mom and dad, Iowa,
Iowa is where I was born and raised. Yeah.
Okay, so did they have music programs in your elementary school?
They did have a music class.
Like a
and
chorus or
yeah, it was just
band?
It was just regular music class where you learn singing and you learn how to play the recorder.
Yeah, it was
You
always the
know,
recorder. That's
the
interesting.
early stuff they teach you when you're a kid. And my best friend John's mom was the teacher of that class, and she also taught me piano lessons.
Ah.
Yeah.
So what instrument, do you play an instrument now?
Yeah, mostly now I play like drum machines and keyboards, and then I DJ.
Right? Yeah.
But I
Great
started
DJ.
off
Clint
playing.
Beastwood. Check it out.
I started off playing piano and drums.
You're one of the few
Yeah.
people I've talked to that wasn't a guitar player.
Ah,
I'm
there we go.
happy to have a new twist here.
Oh.
Piano
Yeah.
and drums.
Yeah, that's what I got into after piano. And
Are we going to explain to people that piano and drums are both a percussive instrument, that the piano is a percussive instrument?
Yeah, that's why I think I always wanted to play drums, but they told me I had to learn piano first.
You know, my brothers are all musicians, and we had a piano in our house growing up. And my mom was like, do you want piano lessons? I'm like, no, I want to play soccer. Because it was what they did, all my brothers, right?
Yeah,
Whatever.
yeah. Sports were a huge thing in my hometown too, and
Yeah.
I dove into that when I was.
Were you a
in-
jock? What'd you play?
Yeah, I played football, basketball, all through high school.
Did you have lacrosse? We had
No,
lacrosse.
no. They
Lacrosse
did.
fucking hard.
Football was a huge thing in my
Same,
hometown, and
same.
they didn't really want us doing anything else, really. You know,
Oh, right,
they just
yeah.
wanted to concentrate on that.
Yeah, like if you were
know.
a football kid, the coach didn't want to hear about how you had to go to piano practice.
Well, probably not. but,
Probably not.
Yeah, like basically like track and field was just a preseason football training,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was
It
that
was
was how you
all
got in
for
shape.
that, you know. But actually basketball was my favorite
Oh,
sport
really?
to play.
And what position did you play?
I played kind of a center,
Right.
like I was good at rebounding and defense mostly.
I can see that.
Yeah.
And he's
and
tall.
I can jump.
And he's handsome. And he can jump.
Yeah. I used to be able to dunk actually.
Oh, I can see that.
Yeah.
How tall are you?
A 6'2".
Very nice.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm tall, but not that tall. See, we're sitting down, so when people see this on YouTube, they're gonna be like,
Yeah.
dude, someone said to me one time, they were like, you should focus on this. You should focus. I'm like, you get your own fucking podcast. I can talk about whatever I want.
Yeah.
It's fucking my podcast. Anyway, so the reason that I mentioned the thing about the music program in elementary school is because I've kind of noticed that, and I'm a lot older than you, but I've kind of noticed that even that first little bit of exposure kind of gets in there. Like you said, like you wanted to play drums, but they made you learn piano. But like, even though you were playing football and even though you were playing basketball and all that stuff, still that music thing, it gets in you. You know what I mean? And I think, so you're playing, like, were you like a football star in high school?
I was pretty good. There
Or
was
a basketball star?
I think football was such a famous thing in my
Town.
My town was so famous for it in the state that
Oh,
everyone
wow.
was focused on football. And I was pretty good. I wasn't the star of the team, but I was all state.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got shoulders for it. Just saying.
Yeah, they started us lifting weights in 5th grade.
Jesus.
So yeah, we were getting buff early.
That is, well, Clint knows that I am into resistance training now to just, stay upright. But
Yeah.
but yeah, I think, did you find, like, even in spite of all the, normal stuff you were doing, you're a teenager, you're grown up, do you remember the first record you heard that you wondered, like, how did they do that? Did you ever have
Yeah.
that thought?
Yeah, there's a lot of them. I
Yeah.
loved music so much when I was at that stage. Even when I was focused on sports, there was something about music that drew me to it. And I remember being in 8th grade, we took this field trip to go see the planetarium in Des Moines, which is like 3.5 hours away from
Wow.
my hometown.
Wow.
So it was a long drive on
Yeah.
the bus. And my friend Maureen just pulled out her Discman, and she showed me this disc that had like a huge marijuana leaf on it.
Nice.
Which is Dr. Dre's The Chronic.
Nice.
And that was my exposure to that album for the first time. It just blew my mind. Like, how did they do all these beats?
I
Like,
love that there was still the visual graphic,
Yeah.
because for me it was album covers and then obviously CDs, and now, you download stuff or you stream stuff, you don't always get that.
yeah. Yeah, and
picture.
I think it was in like 8th grade or something, just holding that disc, you felt like you were doing something
Wrong because it's got a pot leaf on it.
So it was like, oh, let's try this out.
I'm
and feel.
bad.
Yeah. So that was kind of my first exposure to really good hip hop production.
Yeah.
And so
Great
that sort
producer.
of blew my mind, and that I sort of delved into that world from there, and I started to DJ and make my own beats.
I love that.
Yeah.
Were your parents supportive of this music interest?
My dad was kind of annoyed that it was so loud.
That's a fair thing, especially with hip
My
hop.
room was not very far from my parents' room, and I had a big stereo. And I had,
I love this.
I think I had an alarm on it. You know how they used to have those
Yeah, you
ones
could
with
stop
like
it.
the 8 CDs
Yeah.
that would rotate around, and then you could set your alarm.
Yeah, it's
and
a
I think,
multi-disc changer.
and you never knew it was going to come up. And I think it was like, oftentimes it was like Rage Against the Machine, just super loud at like,
Dude,
waking me up at like 8:30 before school. And
Dude, for me, it would be like Beastie Boys,
Yeah.
like, opening of Sabotage really
Yeah.
loud, and your
Yeah.
parents are trying to like fucking,
yeah.
it's crazy.
So, I think my parents were always supportive of everything I did. So I'm blessed for that.
Yeah, same. So when did you go to college?
Yeah, I did. After high school, I went to University of Iowa, and I studied business there. I got a degree in business management.
Look at you.
But I also discovered audio engineering there.
They have an audio engineering program.
I don't know what
Probably
it's
do
like
now.
now, but at the time they didn't really offer like an official one.
Okay.
But I was taking some classes in the music building.
So it's part of the music program?
Yeah, it was like it was just an extra thing that nobody really knew about. I basically just walked over to the music building, and I was taking a music history class,
That's
and
cool.
I saw like a little post on a door that said
Lab.
Audio Engineering 101.
Holy crap.
Yeah, and so I just signed up for that class, and it ended up being just me and one other dude that took the class. So it was like me and this other guy, Tommy, and then
The
our
cool thing about that
instructor-
is the instructor, the teacher gets to
Yeah.
really focus on you.
Yeah, and our instructor was Joel, who was the engineer for the music building. So he just gave us the hands-on, like,
Signal flow.
Signal Flow, Pro Tools, and he taught us the right way to do it. They had a little like broadcast Neve
Yeah.
that was connected to the whole music building, and you could connect the video to any of the rooms, and they had a camera so they would record all the
That's
ensembles
very
and
cool.
the jazz bands and stuff, and so that really gave me some like real
That's
training.
fundamental, yeah.
Yeah. And it was great. It was just me and one other person
That's
in the
fucking
class.
so cool, actually.
Yeah, that was really cool. So then I graduated, and I had just fallen in love with that as a career path.
I think it's really, really good that you have the business background, though.
Yeah.
I kept changing my major, and I ended up being a psych major with a business minor, which obviously turned into the perfect. There is no school for studio management. It's like running a hotel, basically. But it ended up being a very good combo, the psychology with the business.
Yeah, the business, I still use a lot of stuff that I learned in there, just for my own
Yeah,
recording
you got to get
and mixing
paid.
business.
You got to,
and-
you are a business.
Yeah, there's everything is wrapped up in that, It's the creative element of it is the fun part, but you got to
Get paid.
keep all the business stuff going just to, yeah, exactly, get paid and keep the career going.
When did you come to Los Angeles?
I came in 2006,
Wow.
the late 2006, because after I went to U Iowa, my professor there, Joel, recommended that I go to the conservatory.
Oh, that's right. I forgot that you
Yeah.
went to Crass.
Yeah, so I went there for 10 months and then just came to LA right after that.
I'm trying to think, was I already, I don't think I was yet working with, I might have started that year. Was my friend Laura there when you started at Crash? She was in the placement program.
She might have been.
I am the chairman of the advisory board of the Conservatory of Recording Arts and Sciences in Tempe and Gilbert, Arizona, which is CRAS, acronym
Yeah.
is CRAS, which is Clint's alma mater. And I've only made one real misstep. Like my role is to advise on curriculum as I see it in my day-to-day world
Yeah.
and like gear that they might need to buy to keep up with training the students.
Yeah.
And my one misstep was the oh God, what the fuck was it called? CLASP, which was
Oh,
a
yeah.
tape emulation.
Yeah.
Meh, meh.
Yeah.
It was a cool idea.
It's a great idea.
Great idea, but it didn't work. I couldn't.
I mean, some people loved it.
Yeah.
And it just became a little bit obsolete because
Yeah,
you can
kinda
kind
quickly.
of do a similar thing now and
Yeah.
not have to buy the clasp and
Yeah,
worry about all
yeah.
those
But it was a
connections.
good idea.
Yeah. I mean,
But-
any way you can get tape going on a session is a good idea.
Well, and I am going to mention that too, because I was going to embarrass the fuck out of Clint. Clint is one of those people, he's a working first engineer, producer, mixer, and we've been friends for a while. He kind of came up through Sunset Sound here in Hollywood also.
Yep.
But I hire Clint, like when I need a first engineer, and one of the things that I will always go back to you for is you're one of the more experienced people with analog that I hire. And you did a record not long ago, completely analog, which
Yeah.
could be, we're not gonna lie, it could be a pain in the ass a little bit, but super fun.
Yeah, that
And the
was
results
super
were
fun.
amazing. That band's called Blush. They're fucking
Yeah.
rad.
Shout out to Blush.
Shout out to Blush. It's super cool. But some people tend to, especially people, even I don't want to make you sound old, but some people that are a little younger than you, tape is so foreign to them or analog is so foreign to them. And at the end of the day, and I think Clint will probably agree with me, these things are just a tool. It's how you capture the music is using your ears, understanding what the artist is trying to convey, obviously using microphones, utilizing the acoustic space. The medium of capture is just that. It's either going to be a Pro Tools rig or a tape machine. Do they sound different? Yes, they do sound different. Is one better than the other? It depends. It depends on what you're doing.
Yeah, it depends on the project.
Depends on the
Sometimes
music. I
tape
think.
is the perfect thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not
Yeah.
because you want to have more flexibility in
Yeah,
the end.
yeah.
The thing that's great about tape is if you get an artist or a band that needs some limitations,
This is a good thing.
That's when tape is amazing, because you only have so many tracks to record on, and you only have so much time to record, so you can only do so many takes, and it's a smaller canvas to work on. It's not just like this infinite thing.
And I think it forces performance.
It definitely forces performance, because
In a good way.
yeah, you can do punches and edits on tape, but it's harder. It takes longer, and generally people are more willing to commit to something that's on tape.
Yeah. I was talking about mono earlier, and my recent obsession with mono.
Oh yeah.
It's not really that recent, but it's kind of a recent obsession with mono. And I'm not an engineer, and, I'm strictly a layperson and a listener when it comes to stuff like that. But I find as I'm going, and it's probably also who I'm listening to. Like, I'm listening to the Mamas and the Papas or the Beach Boys, and they didn't suck anyway.
Yeah.
But I'm listening to them, or even the Beatles. Like, I bought that Beatles box set, and I bought it in stereo, and now I wished I'd bought it in mono, because I was listening. I had the great privilege of working at East West here at 6000 Sunset, and I was in Studio 3, a room that Clint works in a lot, and I was listening to the Mamas and Papas in mono in the room it was recorded in. Well, not many people get to do that.
Yeah.
But I was thinking to myself, and years ago, I actually had this conversation with Lou Adler. I'm like, man, that just sounds so good. Monday, it all sounds so good. And he said, some of those were the demos that John Phillips did. And they overdubbed and they did stuff. And I still can't really truly, because I'm not an engineer, I can't truly wrap my head around why is some mono recording so clear and I can hear every instrument. Obviously, I grew up with stereo. But then I listen to some modern music that's really compressed, or maybe there's a lot going on, and I can't really hear everything. So I don't really understand it.
Yeah. I think, when I
Is
mix...
it a level? It's a D? I don't.
Yeah, when I mix, a lot of times I'll have a mono, just Oratone, real small speaker in the middle of the console, just to be able to reference the mono. And you notice when you mix on that you can balance stuff easier.
Yeah.
Because you're fitting it into that middle space. Everything has to be in the right place. When you're spreading it out stereo,
Some things get lost.
sometimes, well, yeah, and also sometimes you think something's in the right place when it's not, because there's more room to put stuff, and then you fold it down to mono and it doesn't quite work.
Oh, interesting.
So I feel like mono, in that way, it forces you to make the mix more perfect.
Balanced.
Yeah. And the thing I love about mono, actually, is that your brain only focuses on the one thing, like straight in front of you. And it's not bouncing back between the two ears. And so it really makes you focus on the music and everything that's underneath that, instead of just kind of like... I love the ear candy of things being left and right, but
Yeah.
there's something kind of
And even
awesome
Atmos
about it
is
just
interesting.
being in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Atmos is cool too in that way, because but
I find it distracting though sometimes, unless it's with picture.
yeah, I mean, it can be distracting. And stereo can be distracting. It's funny you mentioned those Beatles records, because sometimes it's they put the drums on one side and the vocals on the other.
Yep.
And so what I've done, just for fun,
You
is
swap
to
it?
stack the speakers on top of each other, so that the drums are on the bottom and the vocals on the top.
That's kinda cool.
And so then you get this other sort of image going on.
Well, I think, and I know Clint will agree with this. I mean, those early pioneers, Tom Dowd, Les Paul, Bill Putnam, and then later Jeff Emmerich, Ken Scott, all these people whose albums we became familiar with, and many, many, many others since. But the early guys, you said earlier, mono, or rather tape even, that's what you have to work with. So for them, they had like 4-track.
Yeah.
Or they had like 8-track when it was, woo, they got 8-track,
Yeah,
whoa, we got
yeah.
8-track. So, and that was the other thing Lou Adler said to me. He said, well, that one of the reasons why the Wrecking Crew and all the session players were so important was they knew how to play to each other. They knew how to fit with each other. They knew these rooms all around LA, your room, this room, Gold Star, all these great studios. And he said, and they brought the performance.
Yeah. That's a big part.
So because they could only overdub so much.
Right.
They could edit so much, but you had to get it right,
Yeah.
and so I think that's another thing. And again, I'm not anti-Pro Tools, I'm not anti-anything, but I would say that I think that it should be the focus on the performance. I think it should be
Yeah.
important.
That's the most important thing, for sure.
Just saying.
I think that another reason why those mono records sound so good is because they couldn't put an extra part in there because it would cover up everything in the mix and kind of like mess up the whole mix.
Yeah.
And so it made you make those decisions of like, oh, we can't add an extra guitar overdub,
Right.
and because it's going to throw off the rhythm of something else
Right.
that's already in the mix.
Electric basses came along and kind of
Yeah.
fucked with the drummer. At
Yeah.
some point, someone was explaining to me today about how, like, now you got to change the kick and stuff. And I'm like, I never thought about that because I didn't start listening to music. I mean, I was born in the 1959, but I wasn't
Yeah.
listening to records till I was like 6 or 7. So you listen to all that stuff. And I was another thing that I noticed, and I don't know if you ever noticed this, but I found that I would, and it could be The Who, it could be, Zeppelin or whatever I was listening to at the time, but I found, like, I liked all that popular, rock, classic rock at the time, but I would see this, I found out later, like, I'd see the same producer, like it was all Glenn Johns, or on
Yeah.
Sticky Fingers, it was Andy Johns, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? And I don't know if I subliminally or subconsciously, like, recognized a production style, because the bands were different, but like, Who's Next, you listen to that, and then you listen to, like, Zeppelin, and you go, oh, wow, and then you realize, oh, they're both Glenn Johns.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, these guys know what they're doing, is all I'm saying. Amazing.
Yeah. I mean, that's one thing that got me obsessed with records and making beats was finding out the producer of it, or the studio they recorded it at, or the musicians that were on it.
Did you find you could ever tell, like, the difference? Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, and then I would just go searching for records, and if I'd never seen it before, and then I'd look on the back and say, oh, this person played on it, or it was done at this studio, I would give it a shot.
Nice.
Yeah.
Because you knew kind of what that place sounded
Yeah,
like.
because
or that
and also
person.
it's like you develop this trust of like, of that
Totally. That's
they
exactly
did
what
well
it is. You
before,
develop the
and so
trust.
I feel like I'll give them a chance this time.
That's
Even if I
exactly
don't
what
know
it
the
is.
music, the right people are there doing it.
Yeah,
so.
because this guy's a good producer, it's probably going to be good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, that's true. I think that, we're really lucky. We both work in super cool studios with a lot of history.
Yeah.
But I am not anti people working in their houses. I want to put that out there. I mean, for me, if artist empowerment's the most important thing. So if you're a songwriter or you're a young musician and you don't have access to a big studio like this or microphones or whatever, concentrate on writing the best song.
Yeah.
Something that elicits emotion, and that if it moves you or you believe in it. And these days, that's actually a good thing. I mean, record companies have their purpose. They are kind of banks with high interest in some ways, but they had their purpose because in the earlier years, there was no way to release your own music. You couldn't release. There was no internet. You couldn't
Yeah.
release your own music. You couldn't record
Yeah,
your
you could
music
barely
at home.
record it.
Dude, when I started, large format console was it. I mean, they were just starting to make little
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
digital mixers and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But you couldn't put, your wife
Yeah.
wasn't going to let you put an 8-foot console in the living room. You know what I
Right.
mean? So I think that tools are tools, and anything that helps you make your music is all good. If you ever have the opportunity to come into an acoustic space or use mics or hire a talented engineer, it's not going to hurt. It's going to make it better. But I think that, I think it's important. Just write your song. If you're living in some tiny town somewhere and you're like, oh, I can't get into a big
Yeah.
thing, just write your song. Write your song, play it, play out live. Get your friend to record your live performances.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, even if it's just you and your phone,
Yeah,
people are going to be able to tell if it's a good song.
it's true.
And just, vibe with it.
It's
And
totally
then you
true.
can make your awesome studio version of it when you have the chance.
Or the money or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with that wholeheartedly. So when you got out of that, the recording program, and you moved to LA in 06,
Yeah.
where'd you get your first gig?
First gig was at Sound Factory. I
Oh,
did a
right,
short
okay.
internship at a studio called Studio Atlantis for a couple months.
Oh, I know where that is on
Yeah.
Western. John
Yeah,
Newkirk's
yeah.
place.
So, and there was a long line of interns, and it felt like I was never going to get a chance. And luckily, Sunset Sound called me and asked me if I wanted to be the runner at Sound Factory.
This is when Sunset Sound also
Yeah,
owned Sound Factory.
when they owned Sound Factory. And so I started working there as a runner, 2007, I think.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty soon after I moved to LA. And so that's where I learned all my tape stuff, Shout out Ren Ryder. He
Yep.
told me everything I know. He's the tech to this day at Sunset Sound, but he used to work at Sound Factory, and he showed me everything about tape, and then he said, "This is your gig. Better learn it." And I had to set it up before all the sessions. I had to do all the alignments.
alignments.
You know, and that's what made me good at it to
They
this
have
day.
Studers or Ataris or both?
Yeah,
or
they had Studers, and then they had a Dolby rack for
Dolby
the
SR.
yeah, which is another pain in the ass
Yeah,
alignment.
it's a
that-
noise processing,
yeah.
noise reduction.
Yeah, that actually is rated as less noise than Pro Tools.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, and then they had ATR 2 tracks.
And then remember,
For
wasn't there a
mixing.
Studer that had like built-in SR?
Yeah,
Like the
there
8
was.
800?
Yeah, I think it's the 820 maybe.
820?
Yeah,
No, I think I have 820s. I don't know. Anyway, built-in SR.
Yeah.
Interesting.
yeah.
Yeah.
I never used one of those. We had a separate rack that was the Dolby rack.
Yeah,
and
yeah, no, that was a
that
common
always
thing.
takes about an hour and a half longer than
Yeah,
doing
to
a
align
normal
it.
alignment.
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass.
But it did sound amazing. You could run the
Yeah.
tape at a slow speed, and there was no noise, and it sounds
really
great.
saturated
Yeah.
without getting it.
Great low end.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you're watching this and you're wanting to become a young recording engineer, we would both recommend that the conservatory is a great school. They got great gear,
Yeah.
they got great teachers, and they actually, one of the things I noticed about both Blackbird and Crass, mainly Crass, is that they actually work to get you a job. All recording schools, I'm good with all of you, but they actually work to make sure you get a job. They try to help you get a gig in a studio or wherever it is that you want to do audio. You know, now they got a truck and, you
Yeah.
know, all that stuff. 'Cause
Yeah, I was down there a couple of months ago. I did a little
Oh, did you
panel.
speak? Oh, you
Yeah,
did?
yeah, that was fun.
Oh, super
But
fun.
yeah, it's the same thing. Like they're really good at placement
Yeah.
and handling that.
Well, they
I-
care.
Yeah, I think when I was there was a little bit more freedom for the students to reach out to studios on their own. Like they recommended that. But when I talked to them a month or two when I was back there, they said that they don't recommend students do that anymore.
Well, probably because they know that studios get inundated with
Yeah.
resumes
Yeah.
and that if I go through them, because
Yeah.
honestly, what I do now when I need somebody, I just reach out to the Rachels. There's two Rachels.
Yep.
Rachel Ludeman, Rachel Peller, shout out to you ladies, and to Colin and to anybody that works
Yep.
at Crass. But I reach out to them and I go, okay, I've got an opening. I need someone really good.
Yeah.
And again, trust. They'd send me somebody
Yeah.
good. So after you were doing your stint at Sound Factory and you were assisting, I'm sure you
Yeah.
did a lot of cool projects as assisting. What was the first thing you did as a first engineer?
Well, that would have been actually while I was still a runner. I did some demos there. They, really pushed us to go out and find bands, bring them in.
Cool.
And so I did this band called Mini Mansions that I just got recommended for. One of the players from the band did a little internship at the Sound Factory,
Oh.
and then I don't know, a couple months later or something, he asked me if I would record him and
Nice.
his band, and they're awesome. So that was one of my first kind of engineering gigs, even though I was still a runner. When I became more of an engineer, when I was still assisting, and I would get like official
first
engineering gigs.
Yeah.
One of the first ones I got was for Jimmy Cliff.
Oh, very
Yeah,
cool.
that was for an album called Rebirth.
Well, that
Yeah.
wasn't that long ago, I don't think. 10 years maybe?
Yeah, 2012 is when it came out. I think we started
Crazy.
recording maybe the first one in
Crazy.
2010 or
Well,
something.
now
We did an
reggae's a whole
EP.
different.
Yeah. So
If you don't know who Jimmy Cliff is, look it up.
yeah, I
That's
mean,
a whole different
a
style.
legend. Rest
Yeah.
in peace.
Yes.
So yeah, actually it was from doing demos too. I had a friend who was in a band with his friends, and they asked me to record them. They were kind of a rock reggae band,
That's
a little
kinda
bit of
cool.
ska, and then one of those people ended up playing in the band for Jimmy Cliff.
So be
And
nice
so-
to everybody
yeah,
you meet.
the connections are all there, and then he was engineering for the producer, and he asked me to engineer for the Jimmy Cliff album because he had to play on the record. So
You can't do both.
yeah, and he did a lot of good engineering work on that record too.
Okay.
And so that was one of my first big kind of engineering gigs, and that one took off, did great, and won a Grammy.
Dude, congratulations
so
on that.
That was cool to win a Grammy early on.
Very cool.
And You know, it's set the stage right for me to keep going.
And it's good credits, like, one of the things that I think is important for people to understand is, obviously, engineering is this unique mix of art and science. It's super technical, but it's also super artistic, and you're working with musicians. And I say this often, the musicians come in, and artists are vulnerable. They're giving you their song, their baby. Like, here's my creation, and help me with this. So it's a multifaceted skill set where you have to know how to read the room, you have to be a good vibe, you have to be technically very astute, you have to know how to roll if maybe something breaks, you have to keep the momentum of the session happening, keep the vibe going. There's a lot going on. Being an assistant is really fucking hard, I think. But being an engineer is hard. But I think the other thing too, and I think I lost my train of thought, but I'll try to find it again. But basically, I was just going to say that I don't think people really truly understand everything that goes into engineering, capturing, all those decisions,
Yeah.
microphone decisions,
Yeah.
where you're going to put the people in the room, having this, and when you're an engineer, a lot of times on certain projects, you'll be engineering and you'll also be co-producing or producing at the same time. Sometimes there's a producer, sometimes there isn't, sometimes the artist is self-producing and you're there helping them, and you're the engineer and their co-producer. So it's this whole gentle thing of eliciting performance from them and encouraging them while also trying to get the very, very best performance that you can get, and people are sensitive. So I think that, I don't even know why I brought that up. I even know where I was going, but there you go.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the funnest things about engineering is when somebody gives you the freedom to like fully conceptualize what
Like, what would
a
you do?
song or sound is going to be. They might give you a couple references and say, oh, I really like how these drums sound. I really like this bass tone. And so then you get to imagine in your head what their end result will be. And when some artist gives me the freedom to do that, and then the results are
Everyone's happy.
And they're all like far beyond what they ever imagined. It's such a great feeling,
Dude, that's so rewarding.
Yeah, and that to me is one of the best things, and that's why I love recording and mixing. And my philosophy is that mixing starts at recording.
Oh, fucking A. Totally.
So when
And if you have the luxury of mixing what you track,
yeah, then you get to fully
you're mixing as you go.
You get to fully realize that concept that's in your head.
Yeah, you're mixing as you go.
Yeah.
You're thinking of the mix when you're setting up the track, and you're setting up the mics,
Yeah.
and you're setting everything up and how it's going to be laid out. And it also makes it easier to mix later, I think.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
because then you've
lived with it.
then you got maybe 50-60% of the mix ready, and
Yeah.
that frees up so much of your brain to be creative instead
Yeah.
of just problem solving things,
Exactly.
And so that's my favorite when I get to record and mix.
I love that you love to do both, because
Yeah.
I tease. We both know a lot of famous mixers,
Yeah.
and mixers can tend to make more money than regular tracking engineers, especially if they've got a reputation. People that we love and admire: Spike Stent, who I adore, Tom Elmhurst, Chris Lord-Alge, all these talented guys. I always thought to myself, it would be kind of boring mixing other people's stuff. Like, I think it would be so much more fun. I think tracking would be way more fun, because that's just me, and obviously I'm not an engineer, but I thought it would be so much more fun. But the ideal would be to do both. Like, you got to track it, and then you got to mix it. Because think about it, if you're a mix engineer and your reputation is way, way up here, and someone gives you something and you have to really work really hard at it, that's tough. We call that polishing a turd, by the way. But chances are these high-end mixers don't get tracks like that. But
Yeah.
just saying, like, it's hard to take something that's already been tracked, and if it's fucked up, you can do it. You could do surgery on it, but that's painful. That's the painful part of mixing, I
Yeah.
think, right? When you
Yeah.
have to sort of like, oh my God, And then I was talking to a mastering engineer today, and I was thinking to myself, well, people don't realize, how important mastering is. And obviously for a mastering engineer, if they get a track and they don't really have to do much to it, that's a bonus, right?
Yeah.
But
That's my favorite
Yeah, that's a high
masters that
compliment.
when I get the masters back and they sound just like my mix, except for louder,
Yeah.
that's always my favorite. If there's something changed, there's something that I don't like about it because
Well, because they don't want them to remix you don't want them to change your
yeah,
mix.
and I think that
But if they call you and they say like, hey, the level's a little low on this one section, you would probably be like, oh, well, bring it up.
yeah, well, I mean,
If
if
it
I thought
wasn't-
if I thought it was a good idea,
Yeah, if you listen
or
to
I
it and
would say
agreed,
this is why I did that,
and
you
then
know.
leave it alone and
This
don't
is
fuck
what-
with it.
This was the concept behind doing that.
So don't
usually,
change it.
Yeah, usually everything I do has a reason
Purpose.
behind it, and I think that's when I get a master back that isn't the same, quite enough the same as my mix, then I don't really like it, and I'll just always listen to my mix, and I'll never listen to the master if I want to hear that
That's
song
funny.
again, because but some of the greatest masters I've gotten are ones where
They didn't have to do anything.
They didn't have to do that much, but it was just louder and
Clear.
just like more in your face.
Nice.
That being said, I have had some amazing mastering engineers that have just blown me away with what they did.
Sure.
And I was like, this made it
Better.
way better.
Well, I mean, I say this over and over every time I do this podcast. Our job, each and every person, from the assistant engineer, the engineer, the producer, the job is to make better audio. And the job is to live up, like again, the artist is vulnerable. They've given you this creation, and your job is to elevate that, make it as good as possible so that it reaches fans and communicates that artist's original intent of the song or however the song. I mean, songs affect everybody differently, but whatever the way that song made you feel when you first heard it is probably, if you liked it, you're probably going to want to translate that. You're going to want to make that as good as you possibly can, keep their vision as much as you possibly can while adding your own groovy vision and making it the multiple vision. But yeah, I think making good audio, that's the job.
That's
Don't
right.
fuck it up, basically. Capture it and do the best you can.
Yeah, I do mastering too sometimes, and sometimes I master my own stuff. Sometimes I master other people's mixes, and yeah, I feel like you can get caught up in the
Minutia.
just the technical of like, oh, I gotta do something to this. I gotta use this certain piece of gear, or I have to put my own mark on it. But that's not really what matters. It's just about making it sound better.
See, and that's the right philosophy, and that's what I was talking about with my friend earlier, and he was saying, look, it's not about me, it's about the artist, and it's about, and he said ultimately what he said was interesting. He said, look, it's about the fan. It's about what is the fan going to experience? What is the person who's listening to this, whether it's in their car or from their phone or wherever they're listening to this, what is it that the artist and I want them to hear? You know what I mean? So I'm a champion of engineers. I think they're the unsung heroes. I don't know that they're unsung, but I think that they're heroes because, the early guys we were talking about earlier, like, Les Paul or Bill Putnam or Tom Dowd, those guys, they were flying by the seat of their pants, and they were very, very limited. They had a 4-track, they had an 8-track, they were limited by the tools could limit their creative process. They chose not to let it limit them, but it was crazy. And a lot of stuff came from broadcast, right? Like they didn't really have recording consoles until Les Paul built one. You remember, you've seen that cool one next door at the Les Paul Foundation. Shout out to my friend Tom Camuso, who's rad.
Yeah.
And so this is the thing. This is using technology as a tool to best benefit the music and not let it, like you said, get in your way, where you start overthinking, like, oh, I need to do this, I need to use this thing, or I need to use this thing, or that. It's like, you know what? Listen to it, see how you feel about it, see what, and then start fucking with shit. Especially if you didn't track it. And start fucking with it and see them like where you went.
Yeah. Well, the great thing about those old school engineers too is that, there was so much trust there.
Yes.
There was so much technical stuff that the artist didn't understand, never had a chance to really learn.
Yeah.
And so they really had to put all their trust in the engineer.
Yeah.
And usually I mean, at the time, there wasn't really any all-star mixers like there
Right.
is now.
Yeah.
And so they had to also trust them with that.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what developed into people's own style, you know, and I
Yeah.
think that's really important to have your own style.
You know, I tell my staff, I'm like, look, when you're an when you're a runner and you're setting up a session, or when you're an assistant engineer, every session you do and every engineer you work with, you know, observe what they do, listen to what they do, figure out what you like, figure out what you don't like, and that's how you create your style.
Yeah.
I don't want to call it stealing from other people. I'll call it learning
Yeah.
from other people, because that's how you figure out, like, oh, that was cool. He used a mic that people don't normally use on piano, or he mic'd the drums this way, or he did this way. And, you know, you kind of get a vibe on what feels good to you.
Yeah.
And you've developed the Clint Welander style.
Exactly. That's the greatest thing about being an assistant engineer in a studio like this, is that you get to work with the best in the world.
Yeah.
And what I call it is the bag of tricks.
Yeah,
You're just
totally.
adding things to your bag of tricks.
Totally.
And then you got this huge bag, and you can combine tricks, you know, together to make your own style.
And you're always learning.
Yeah, and then you develop your own stylistic things along the way that no one really taught you, but it's based off of maybe some principles that you learned from someone.
Yeah, I think it's cool too. As a studio manager, I always like it, and it makes my job easier when the first engineer, especially if he hasn't worked in the room, if he says to me, "Well, where do you normally put the drums?" Like he tends to trust the staff assistant, because he knows the staff assistant is doing sessions every day
Yeah.
in that room. Different setup and different bands, but he'll say, okay, well, you know, I like it when a first engineer, I mean, yes, he's going to pick his own mics and things like that, but I like it when he says, well, I don't know, put it where you normally put it.
Yeah. Yeah, I like to try different things. On
Yeah.
every session, I try to do at least one
Different thing.
mic that's different. I never used on a certain thing, because you never know what's going to sound great.
Some cool thing.
You know, and then all of a sudden it becomes this trick in your bag of tricks, and other people see you do it, and then you see people copying your trick, and it becomes a thing that
It's kind of cool.
It just happened because, oh, that one mic that everyone uses wasn't available,
Yeah.
or I wanted to try something different, and then
You actually tracked in the room we're sitting in recently.
that's true.
How was
Just
that?
a couple of days ago. That was awesome. I loved it. I mean, this is obviously
A
an
big
iconic room and a very big room.
A lot of air.
So I felt like it was really fun to track in here. Now I've tracked in every room in East West, and
See, and now I can hire Clint to do any session.
Yeah.
I could before too. But now I can hire Clint to work in here, because I now know that he knows, like, oh, I got the vibe of this room. I got the vibe of this room. He did a lot of work in 3. 3 is the smallest of the tracking rooms here, and I always say it's small but mighty. I think 3 sounds amazing.
3's great. I mean, I did that whole band,
Blush, yeah.
Blush. They all tracked together in the room together, and just there was bleed between the instruments, but it was manageable, and
I like the vibe that comes with the players playing together,
Yeah.
looking each other in the eye.
yeah, and
While
the
they're
energy when
creating.
they're all playing together. It's something that's hard to replicate when
Yeah.
you're overdubbing.
Yeah.
And I love 3 for that. And I've done strings in 2, and I've done some electronic music in 2, and that's a great room in itself too.
I like
And-
2. 2 is sort of
yeah.
there's the Papa Bear, the Mama Bear, and the Baby Bear. 2 is like it's the Mama Bear.
Yeah, it's like the Goldilocks room.
Yeah, it's the Goldilocks room. Yeah.
The porridge is just right.
It's
in
just
there.
right. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Drums sound great in there. This is an older building, and these studios were built in the 60s, and they have for example, Studio 1 that we're sitting in is a very big room and only has 1 ISO booth. Studio 2 has 2. They don't have great line of sight, you know, but
Mm-hmm.
it has a lot of modern studios, and I will get calls, and this it doesn't frustrate me, but it clues me in when I'm talking to someone, when they call me up and they say, well, we need 6 ISO booths. And I'm
Yeah.
like, well, that's crazy.
Yeah, you're like, okay, do you?
Yeah, do you?
Yeah,
Exactly.
do
Do you?
you?
And or the other thing that cracks me up is when I'm doing a big orchestra, or not me personally, but when they're doing a big orchestral date in this room, and say it's 12 pieces, right? And if I see them using 40 mics on 12 pieces, just so you understand what I'm about to say, you want the room sound. You're in a room like this to capture the instrument within that space. Yes, you will close mic for reasons, but you also have overhead mics, and you know, one mic for two violins, plenty, okay? Just saying, in my opinion, depending upon what you're going for. But generally speaking, if you tend to isolate everything and close mic everything, you're not really going to get the sound of the room. Am I wrong in saying that?
No, I think that most of the time that's the case. You know, it depends on what the conductor wants
True.
sometimes. I work with this group called Wild Up sometimes, and I close mic everything because the conductor really likes that sound on
Oh,
certain
okay.
parts of the
When maybe
recording.
for
and then,
him, he can like
Yeah.
focus in on stuff easier, maybe. I don't know.
I'm not exactly sure what the reasonings are, but
We're also just doing what they tell us.
It makes sense to me that because this is a modern classical kind of progressive group, and they do lots of what would be considered kind of strange parts and things,
Gotcha.
and like really soft parts, very delicate
So you would
pizzicato
have to
stuff.
do that, yeah.
And so for those parts, the close mics are great.
Makes sense.
But then we also get the far away mics, and that's a huge sound that you want. If you're just trying to get just the whole orchestra sound,
And
you're
you as
probably
the
just going
engineer
to use
gets to
those.
blend that whole thing too,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you get, okay, well, I got this on the overheads, or if a mic craps out, God forbid.
Yeah.
You also, if you switch it
You
out.
got a backup.
But you also got a backup. Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah. So yeah, when I do big orchestral recordings, it will vary depending on
If
what.
you were in here, yeah, it would depend on what it was. But
Depends on what it is. Yeah, I feel like if it's for like a film thing, it's not as important to have the close mics because
Yeah.
that's just going to be something that's not the focus of the bigger picture.
yeah.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
But if it's a recording like Wild
Well,
Up,
you want to hear
where-
the section. You want to
Yeah.
hear this horn section. You want to hear the violins or the cellos. I'm a huge cello fan. I love cellos.
Yeah.
But I think, and then you want to hear the orchestra together.
Yeah.
Hence the overheads and the room mics.
Yeah. So you're getting a picture of the whole stereo spread of it.
Yes.
You know, and then now I'll record extra mics in the back for like a spatial mix.
Yeah.
So then they can add that in.
Right. Are you doing a segue to that? I don't have an Atmos room here per se. Are you doing a lot of Atmos mixes?
Yeah, I don't do a lot, but I'm prepped for it.
Good to know.
You know, I'm just waiting for someone to ask. I just have everything ready and
You know,
We'll see.
I mean, this room isn't set up for Atmos, but it could be. I
Yeah.
mean, I could, even when, like back when, probably about 15 years ago and 20 years ago, when 5.1 and multi-channel, recording was coming into play, I got in trouble because I went to the Surround Sound Awards and I gave Elliot Shiner an award for like Bohemian Rhapsody or whatever, and it was a 5.1, mix or whatever, and all these people that I respect and love were there, and I got up and I said, I really like the stereo version.
oh,
Candace hoof and mouth, right?
Oh.
But I
you
think
should have went to the Mono Awards.
that's what I'm saying. I should go to the Mono Awards. I don't think they exist, so we should create the Mono Awards. But I think that, like, for example, when people would say to me, can you do multi-channel? I would just get a multi-channel panner, if the console doesn't have that, which most consoles don't, that I would just do that, and it was just really just a 8-channel splitter so that you could hear, so that you
Yeah.
could monitor from everything. But I'm a fan of all those things. I personally like audience perspective. I like to hear the performance in front of me.
Yeah.
I don't really like to be on stage with like the guitar player behind my head. That's not to say that I never heard Atmos mix that I loved, because I have heard
Yeah.
a lot that I like. For me, I like it better with picture,
Yeah, it makes sense. It's
personally.
yeah. I think
because it's all
Yeah.
distracting, kind of like if it's swirling around your
Yeah.
head. And
it can be, if it's done right, it just
Immersive.
feels wider. And
that's a good description.
and that's good, but if it's a little too swirling around, it can be distracting or it can make you a little woozy.
Yeah, it can change your
Yeah.
focus.
And the thing that I'm not really crazy about yet for like doing the spatial mix is that it doesn't seem to be like, most of the mixes don't seem to be that creative. It's more like almost like mastering.
Like they folded it down, like they got the
'cause
stereo.
they give you, you get a bunch of stems from the stereo mix,
Right.
and then you take those and tweak them to.
We don't
to
usually get
work-
this technical on the
to,
podcast.
to work for a spatial mix. And so for me, the most fun part is the being creative with the mixing.
Right.
And not a lot of spatial mixes are asking for that right now.
Yeah, that's interesting. And a lot of it, I think, is label driven, where they're repurposing catalog for release on formats so that they have it ready to go. And that's fine. But then maybe you have someone who's not as experienced, an engineer who's not experienced, a mixer, who's knocking out 5 Atmos tracks a day for the label. And maybe, especially when it's a classic rock thing, in my opinion, like something from the 60s or 70s. Like, we've all heard the many, many, many different versions of Rocket Man in immersive. And there's some amazing ones. Nick from Capitol, Steve Genowick is fantastic at it. There are many engineers that have really gotten down the Atmos thing, for sure. But when I listened to Rocket Man, and I remember the only time I heard it in Atmos that I really loved it, and shout out to John McBride at Blackbird in that incredible fucking room of his with the ATCs, which, by the way, everything sounds good. You could sneeze in there. It would sound amazing. But I heard it in there, and Greg Penny, who I also admire, who's an incredible engineer, that I've asked the question several times, like, has Elton heard this? And what did he think?
Yeah.
And early on, like, Atmos maybe 4 or 5 years old now, maybe a little older.
Yeah, at least.
The answer was no. But he had not heard it,
Yeah.
and because I mean, I'm not saying he hasn't heard it since then, but at that time I'd ask and I'd say, no, he hasn't heard it. Because for me, what would be weird, as a layperson, as a listener, would be if the background vocal overshadowed the lead vocal. And if it was louder than.
Yeah.
To me, that's like, okay, well, it's in the wrong place.
Yeah.
Okay, that's just me, and I know whoever's listening to this is going to watch it and say, Candace, you're full of shit.
Yeah.
I'm a mixing engineer, I'm an Atmos guy, and I'm a genius. Well, good for you. But it's all got to sound like it's in the right spot.
Yeah, it does.
Even immersive, I don't play video games, okay? If I did, maybe that would be something I'd be used to.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard great Atmos mixes.
I have too.
The ones that I like are the ones that are more creative, where they sort of just started from scratch,
you said, wider.
almost, and those are the ones that are impressive.
Where you could hear everything.
Well, you can hear everything, and it's still in a good spot, and
Still
it's not
balanced.
distracting.
Yeah.
And there is stuff moving, but that's not distracting because it's like little ear candy pieces, But like you said, like it's not so separated that like the background vocals are distracting because they're only coming from one place. And then you can't focus on the lead vocal that's supposed to be kind of the focus.
Yeah, people are starting to track for Atmos. They have been for a while, track for Atmos,
Yeah.
and that's interesting too. My friend James Saez, who's amazing, who does amazing stuff. There was a Beck track, and I should ask Daryl Thorpe if he tracked it. Our friend Daryl, I don't know if he did. It's a song called Seventh Heaven, and this song, there's 196 tracks. I love this song. And I'm sitting here saying that I don't like a lot going on. There is a lot going on in this song. I'll play it for you later on a regular stereo version, but it's the swirling and the movement of the instruments moving around within the field is not, it sounds correct. It sounds like that was the intent of the song. I don't want to say melody, but yeah, basically kind of like it all fits in with the melody of the song.
Yeah.
It's all moving around and swirling around, and that song sounds good that way.
Yeah.
Seventh Heaven, you would dig it.
Yeah, probably because it was recorded the right way for that format.
Probably.
And that's, I think, what helps make a really
This
good
is the most
sounding.
technical I've ever gotten on the podcast.
Wow. We're going down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, we're
I'm amazed we're going down a technical rabbit hole.
This is actually
right
really
now.
fun, actually.
But yeah, I feel like, recording in a way that is for a spatial mix makes the mix way better. Because then instead of getting a stereo stem that you have to then like break out and put in a spatial mix, you're not as limited to that because you have extra mics that were set up specifically for that
instrument. Yeah,
and that's what makes them sound, I think, more realistic,
more normal or whatever, not so distracting. But this also goes back to you get to create in your head because you tracked it that way.
Yeah.
And you're mixing it, if you have that luxury, then you're like, okay, my vision is coming to life. Like the thing that I thought I was trying to create is happening. Oh, sorry. Anyway, but one of the main purposes of this podcast is that there's no one way to get your dream job. If you're sitting somewhere in a small town somewhere, and I said this earlier, if you don't have the money to record in a big studio, or maybe you don't have experience, you're watching all these things on YouTube with people that you respect. That's fine. That's cool. At the end of the day, there's no one way to get here. Like I was going to be a marriage counselor, for fuck's sake.
Wow.
You know what I mean? You had a degree in business.
You would have been a hell of a marriage
You
counselor.
think I would have been good?
Yeah.
Well, hence psychology and business. But there's no one way to get here. And there's so many people that we talk to. They were maybe a musician and they didn't think that maybe they could become a professional musician, or maybe they were hard on themselves. They were probably good, but didn't think they were good enough. But they started to become interested in a lot of people, Joe Ciccarelli, Steve Miller, people I've talked to, they were in a band and then they got fascinated with and interested in the recording of the live show, and then they wanted to make it better, and they started tweaking on gear and learning about gear, because it is such a mix of art and science. I can't even stress that enough, because it is so creative, but it is highly technical.
Yeah.
But I think it's such a cool job. My job's a cool job. Your job's a really cool job.
Yeah, it's really a lot of fun. It's, it can be stressful because you work with new people all the time. You're constantly having to prove yourself. There's not a lot of job security. You get done with one really big gig and you're on this high from it, and then the phone doesn't ring for a week and you start to panic. Oh, is anyone ever going to hire me again?
Oh, yeah.
So it's a little bit of a roller coaster,
That's
but
why
it's
the
really
community
fun.
helps, and like having friends, like I can call on Clint, like, oh crap, I need someone tonight, Monday night, I need someone tonight to do the session. Are you available? Lucky for me, he had Monday open.
Yeah.
He came in and was able to do that.
Lucky for me.
Yeah, well, lucky for everyone. Lucky for the artist.
Yeah.
That they called me and that I knew who to call, because it's all that, again, back to that trust thing.
Yeah.
And that's a huge part of what I do. Like, I am so lucky and so thankful, because I've been doing this a really long time, and I am very fortunate that people will return, not just because they know the studio and what they can get out of the studio, but they know that I'll make sure everything's okay, that I'll do my best to make sure that everything's fine. If they're a new artist and they've never been here, everybody gets treated the same, because it doesn't matter if you're famous yet or anything like that. Our goal is to get you the best experience you possibly can have. And I know you're the same way.
Yeah. I
You know?
think that
Bring your A game.
I do. I bring the A game. I always see you bringing the A game too.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I try, because
You
it
know?
matters. People, like, again, they're giving you the baby.
I feel like, what are we going to do without you?
Aww. Well, Keith's amazing.
Well, Keith is amazing.
He's amazing.
I love
and he can
Keith.
grill up a mean old rack of ribs.
Yeah.
He's in the other room recording in two right now
Oh,
with
great.
with the school ensemble.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. I don't know if it's Harvard, Westlake, or who it is. I could talk to Clint for hours, and I often do, by the way, because he's my bud.
Yeah.
But I'm probably going to kind of wrap it up. But I just wanted to say, again, just thank you so much for everything you do.
Sure.
Thanks for giving a crap and caring about doing a good job and and just wanting to help the artist. I mean, we love music. At the end of the day, we're fans.
Yeah.
And I'd say that about Rick Rubin too. One of his greatest gifts, and I've had the great fortune of working with Rick a lot. One of his real gifts is he's the ultimate fan. So he will trust that thing which makes him excited when he hears a song.
Yeah.
And that is a great part of producing.
Yeah.
Is to get that excitement coming and get it to come out. And it takes a lot of people. It takes a village to make that happen. So, well, Clint, just thank you. I think that's kind of.
I mean, thank you, Candace, for doing this. All the podcasts that you do, everything you do for the studio community and all the artists that come through here. We love you.
I love you too. All right, Candace Stewart, that's my podcast, Trade Secrets, and check us out. And Clint will be coming out probably like 2 months. Check it out on YouTube. Check it out on Spotify, Google, Apple, wherever you get your podcast.
Yeah, listen to it in Atmos.
Yeah, it won't be in Atmos. But, that would be that would sound crazy. Actually, that sounds kind of fucked up. We'd have to have background music in Atmos.
We could get the ambience of this room,
Okay, I have a question before we sign off the podcast. Is there such a thing as Atmos for dialogue?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely spatial audio
for
podcasts.
for talking?
Yeah, I mean, but it's mostly that thing where you move your head and then the audio
Follows
moves
your
like
head?
that. Like, yeah, that's what I've heard. And
That sounds distracting.
I mean, yeah, I never really like.
You can cut
like
this
it when
at any
that-
time.
I never like it when that happens. I just want it to stay here and I move my head.
How about where did it go?
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you, and thank you
Yeah.
for signing in, Tracy.
Thanks for listening.
You're welcome.